Annapurna Upanishad, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma, Part 3. Part 3 contains the whole of Chapter 3 and the first 34 verses of Chapter 4, where the discussion revolves around liberation without the body. The Upanishad. Nigadha continues with his questions. He asks Ribhu, "Revered sir, what is the nature of liberation without the body? Can you tell me of some great sage who is in possession of such liberation, resorting to which yoga has he reached that supreme status?" Ribhu replied, "One such person is the celebrated sage Mandavya, who lives in the region of Sumeru. Resorting to the truth that was imparted to him by Kondinya, he became liberated in life. Having attained the status of Jivan Mukta, that foremost knower of Brahm, the great sage, once made up his mind to withdraw all his sense organs from their respective objects. To do so, he sat in the lotus posture with eyes half closed, slowly avoiding contacts with objects, both internal and external. Then, with his sinless mind, he reflected on the degree of steadiness of his own mind. He realized clearly that though his mind was withdrawn, this mind of his was extremely restless. It keeps on wandering from a cloth to a pot to a cart and so on. The mind, the mind keeps wandering among objects, just as a monkey keeps wandering from tree to tree. I am carefully watching the five openings, such as the eyes and so forth, known as the sense organs of cognition, with my mind. O you sense organs, slowly give up your mood of agitation. Here I am, the divine spiritual self, the witness of all. With that all knowing self or Atma, I have understood the nature of the eyes, etc. I am completely secure and I am at peace. Fortunately, I am fearless. Incessantly, I rest in myself. I rest in my Atma, the fourth, my vital breaths, along with all its extensions, have all in due order subsided within me. I am like a fire with its multitudinous flames. When its fuel has been consumed, it blazes forth, but is now extinguished. The blazing fire has indeed been extinguished. I have been completely purified. I am always equable, enjoying all alike as it were. I am awake, though in deep sleep. Though in deep sleep, I am awake. Resorting to that fourth, I remain within the body with a stable status. I have abandoned, together with the long thread of sound reaching up to Om, objects in all the three worlds fashioned by imaginations. Just as a bird, for flying in the sky, leaves the net in which it is enmeshed, in the same way, the great sage sheds his identification with the sense organs. Then he sheds his awareness of his limbs, which have become illusory. He has won the knowledge of a newborn infant, as if the air should give up its power to vibrate. He has terminated the proneness, the inclination of consciousness to attach itself to objects. Then, attaining the unqualified state of consciousness, which is the state of pure being, resorting to it, as it were, to the state of dreamless sleep, he stays immovable like a mountain. Winning the ability of dreamless sleep, he has attained the fourth, and even though he has gone beyond bliss, he is still blissful. he has become both being and non-being. Then he becomes that which is beyond the range of words, which is the nihil of the nihilist, the nothing of the upholder of nothingness, and which is Brahm to the knowers of Brahm, which is the pure, blemishless cognition of the knowers of cognition, which is the Purush of the Sankhyas, and which is the Ishwar of the yogis, which is the Shiv of the Shivganas, which is the time of those who affirm time alone as the basic principle, which is the final doctrine of all the Shastras, and which is what conforms to every heart, which is the all pervading reality, the truth. He has become that truth, the unuttered, the moveless, the illuminator even of lights. He has become the principle whose only proof is one's own experience of it. He has remained as that principle. He has become that which is unborn, that which is deathless, that which is beginningless, and that which is the first immaculate state, which is impartite, that which cannot be partitioned. He has remained that, a state that is subtler than the state of the sky. In a moment, he has become the hallowed God. Yes, in a moment, he has become the hallowed God. This concludes chapter 3. Now we come to the first 34 verses of chapter 4. Nigadha continues with his questions. He asks Ribhu, revered sir, does the Jivan Mukta have the characteristics like the power to fly in space, etc.? If so, great sage, is such power not present in the perfected man that you have described earlier? Ribhu replied, O Brahman, the powers such as the ability to fly in space, etc., these powers, a non-knower of the self or Atma, who is still in bondage, he achieves these powers to fly in space, etc., by virtue of specific substances, by virtue of incantations, and by virtue of practices and potencies of time. This is not the concern of the self-knower, who has no interest whatsoever in such powers. One who has containment in one's own self, in one's own Atma, he never hankers after the phenomena of non-knowledge or ignorance, which is what these powers are. Whatever objects are present in the world are all held to be stuff of non-knowledge or ignorance. How can the great yogi, who has dispelled ignorance, then plunge into that very ignorance again? Whichever confounded person of little understanding desires the group of yogic powers, he achieves them one by one through such practices that are instrumental to them. Substances, incantations, actions applied at the right time yield yogic powers all right. However, none of these yogic powers lifts man to the status of God. Only influenced by some desire does a man work for miraculous powers. The perfect man, on the other hand, seeking nothing, can have no desire whatsoever. When all desires dry up, O sage, then the self or the Atma is one. Therefore, how can the sage, without mind, desire any miraculous powers? The man who has been liberated in life would feel no surprise if the sun were to radiate cold light, or if the moon were to send down scorching rays of fire to blaze downwards. The whole world is superimposed on the supreme reality, the ground, just as a snake is superimposed on a rope. No curiosity is aroused as regards superimposed wonders. These persons who have known what is to be known and who have shed all attachments, whose intellect is great, the knots of whose heart have been cut, they indeed are free, though living in the body. The person whose mind is unmoved in joy and sorrow, and whom nothing jerks out of equanimity, even as breaths do not move a mighty mountains, such a person's mind is dead. The person who is undisturbed by danger, by resourcelessness, by energy, by hilarity, by dullness, or by great rejoicing, such a person's mind is dead. The destruction of the mind is twofold: determinate and indeterminate. In the state of liberation in life, the destruction of the mind is determinate, while in the state of the disembodied liberation, the destruction of the mind is indeterminate. The presence of the mind makes for sorrow, its destruction promotes joy. Therefore, attenuate or reduce the existent mind and bring about its destruction. O sinless one, know that the nature of the mind is folly. When that folly perishes, then one's real essence, mindlessness, is one. The mind of the person who is liberated in life, having qualities like friendliness, etc., is rich in noble impulses and it is never reborn. O Nigadha, this destruction of the mind of the Jivan Mukta is determinate. With disembodied liberation comes indeterminate destruction. A person who is liberated in disembodiment is one who realizes the partless self. Then his mind, the abode of all excellent qualities, as it were, is dissolved. In that supremely holy, blemishless status of disembodied liberation, marked by mindlessness, in that state of indeterminate destruction of the mind, just nothing remains, neither qualities nor their essence, neither glory nor its absence, nothing whatsoever of the world, neither sunrise nor sunset, neither sensations of joy or of anger, neither light nor darkness, neither twilight, day or night, neither being nor non being, nor centrality marks the status of disembodied liberation. The spacious status of those who are liberated in disembodiment, who have gone beyond intellect and the pomp of worldly life, is like the sky, the abode of the winds. The great Jivan Muktas, whose bodies are the subtle ether, become disembodied in the state of disembodied liberation. All their sufferings are cured. They are immaterial, totally quiet and inactive, immobilized in bliss, beyond rajas and tamas. In that state, all the remnants of the mind dissolve. O great sage Nigadha, rid your mind of all latent tendencies. Concentrate your mind forcefully and go beyond all mental constructions. The eternally self shining light illuminating the world is alone the witness of the world, the self, the Atma of all, the pure one. As masked intelligence, it is the ground of all beings. That non dual Brahm, that is characterized by truth, knowledge, and bliss. That Brahm is the object of knowledge. The sage fulfills his ability, the sage fulfills his duty with the realization I am the one Brahm, and Brahm is the ground of all non dual, supreme, eternal, the essence of being, intelligence, and bliss that is beyond the range of word and mind. There, the forms of the sun and the moon do not shine. There, the winds do not blow. And there, none of the gods exist. This divinity alone shines forth as being, pure by itself, free from rajas. The knot of the heart is split, and all doubts are cut asunder. All his actions dwindle when he, who is both here and beyond, is seen. In this body are the birds called the Jeev and the Lord living together. Of the two, the Jeev seeks the fruit of actions, not the great Lord. Alone as the witness, without participation, the great Lord shines by himself. Though Maya sets up the difference between them, the spirit is other than its form, as it does not dwindle. The spirit is non different from all objects. As the unity of the spirit is established through reasoning and means of right knowledge, once the unity is comprehensively known, then one sorrows no more, nor is one deluded any longer. Yes, one sorrows no more, nor is one deluded any longer. This concludes part 3 of the Annapurna Upanishad. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om.